I love getting outside in the wintertime. But at first, when I first started adventuring, I didn't really know how. I didn't know where to start, where to even look. So today, I want to share with you some important tips and tricks for getting outside in the wintertime. So one of the things that I think is most important when adventuring in winter, whether it's going hiking, doing trail running, or even doing other snow sports like snowshoeing, is planning ahead. There are some really important things to keep in mind during winter. Firstly, you want to know the trail conditions. Trail conditions in the wintertime can change drastically in a short amount of time. Keeping up with how the trail is, what the weather forecast is important. Looking at recent trip reports, even honestly looking up where you want to go on the internet and see what other people have posted is really helpful in learning what the trail conditions are like so that you can prepare to have the best day possible with what you have. Let's talk about how to choose a trail. When choosing a trail, there are a couple of things you want to remember because, again, hiking in the winter is different than hiking in the summertime. The first thing you want to remember is that winter hiking takes longer than summertime hiking. Choose a trail that you know you'll have time to finish. I really want to make sure that I get back to my car and on my way home before sunset because I want to make sure that I am not out in the darkest, coldest part of the day. So for me, that means one of two things. I'm going to choose a shorter trail that is closer to home to make sure I have plenty of time to finish it, or I'm going to set myself a turnaround time. If I start at noon and sunsets at 4, my turnaround time is going to be at 2 p.m. to make sure that I have enough time to get back to my car as I did to get out there. Setting a turnaround time for me helps me remember that not always reaching my destination is okay. Being safe, being warm, being back to the car before I get lost in the dark is more important than reaching my destination. One of the other things that I do year-round, I always let somebody know my plans and itineraries so that if something goes wrong and I'm not back when I'm supposed to be, they'll know to come looking. When traveling to your winter adventures, what's also important are the road conditions. Know whether or not there's snow and ice expected on the roads when you're going, and also make sure to bring tire chains or some kind of traction devices if you're going to be traveling in snowy terrain. If you're headed to avalanche terrain, make sure to check the avalanche report if that applies to you. When packing for your winter adventures, you're going to want all the same things that you bring for a summer hike. That includes all the 10 essentials. In the wintertime, the actual list of essentials doesn't change, but what the essentials look like does. For example, insulation is one of the 10 essentials, and in the summertime that looks very different than in the wintertime. In the wintertime, bringing extra insulation can mean a lot more things. It can mean gloves, scarves, hats, an extra warm coat, and maybe even something to sit on. There are lots of things that you could bring in the wintertime for insulation that you might not really want to bring in the summertime. I typically bring 2 types of glove. I'll bring something that's lightweight, easy to maneuver, and water resistant, but sometimes I also bring heftier gloves with me. So this type of glove is going to be much more water resistant and keep my hands super warm and super dry in the event that I have to really be handling any snow. Speaking of staying warm, you can find these at any REI store. These are called buffs. They're lightweight tubes that go over your head, on your neck, and can even come up over your face. They're easy to breathe through. You can wear them around your head as well as earmuffs. They're very versatile. And of course, a trusty hat to keep your head warm. Your head is one of the places that loses the most heat. So if you're cold outside, putting a hat on is gonna make a big difference. So one of the things that's not really necessary, but that I really love to bring because it adds a lot of comfort is a seating pad. So this is also super lightweight. It folds up so it can go on the inside or the outside of your backpack. And this really helps when it comes to taking breaks outside. This is gonna keep my butt warm and dry while I'm doing that. Layering in the winter helps you navigate changing temperatures as you're moving. For example, Having a base layer like what I'm wearing today is a really good place to start for wintertime adventures. If I get cold, I can put on an extra layer like this vest I'm wearing. But if I get warm, I can take the vest off. Sweating means getting wet, and getting wet means getting cold. So make sure to start cold before you start moving. Use your layers only when you stop. And underdress and pack those layers rather than overdress. Also make sure to know the weather forecast, because if it's going to rain or snow, you're going to want some sort of waterproof layer to make sure that you stay dry while you're out there. One of the final things to think about is shoes. In the wintertime especially, you want to make sure you're wearing waterproof shoes. This ensures that your feet stay warm and dry. And finally, in case your shoes and socks get wet, you want to bring a backup pair of socks. In fact, one of the things I really like to do is have a whole extra set of clothes to change into in the car, so that whenever I get back, I can put on my comfy pants, my slip-on shoes, my cozy sweater, and drive home comfortably. Another thing that's slightly different in the winter is food. For wintertime snacks, you're gonna wanna bring things that have a lot of carbs and a lot of fat to make sure that your body stays fueled while it's keeping you warm. Now let's not forget about hydration. It's important to remember that water and food sometimes freeze in cold temperatures. So there are a couple of tips and tricks that can help you keep your water available and unfrozen during your time outside. So often when you're storing your water bottle in your side pocket, you put it in regularly, right? But if it's cold outside, this can cause the lid and the top to freeze and make it really hard to get any water out. So a simple hack is to turn it upside down. Your water bottle should be liquid tight, so it's not gonna spill, especially if you have an Nalgene like this. This will keep it from freezing where you're trying to drink, and instead we'll have the ice floating on the bottom and then floating when you turn it upside down. Another solution is a reservoir. So a reservoir is basically a thing that holds water that goes inside your backpack. Now, as you can see, this is up against the back of my backpack, right up against my body. So this helps keep the water inside from freezing because it's getting my body heat. To keep the straw from freezing, there are two things you can do. First, you can have it insulated just like this one. This will help keep the water inside warmer so that it's less likely to freeze quite as quickly. The other thing you can do is pretty easy, even if you have one of these on or if you don't, is after you take a drink, simply lift it up, open the hose, and drain the water back out into the bladder. There are some other things that are gonna make you safer and more prepared for winter adventure. The first thing is I always bring with me a pair of trekking poles when I'm going out in the winter. Trekking poles help me maintain my balance when it comes to snowy and icy trails. Trekking poles often have an addition called these little snow baskets that help these kind of float on top of snow instead of sinking all the way in, much like a snowshoe for your trekking poles. So one piece of gear that I think a lot of people either don't know about or forget to bring is one of my go-to pieces of gear anytime I'm packing my backpack for shoulder season or wintertime adventures, and that is footwear traction. So these are called footwear traction or micro spikes. Basically what they do is they go over the bottom of my shoe and give me traction on things like snow and ice. So what I really love about these is that they're super lightweight. They're pretty easily packable. Obviously this would fit really easily into my backpack, and they're pretty affordable. These help give me confidence going out during the winter because I know that if I come upon ice or snow, I'm not gonna be slip sliding around. I'm gonna feel confident with every step when I have these on my feet. I hope all these things help you get out during the winter months and stay safe and have fun doing it. My final bonus tip for you before we go is remember to bring a warm beverage in an insulated mug. Whether you drink it out on the trail or back at your car, it's a wonderful way to warm up.